Well, we are finally finished with what we call the house plot here. And I wanted to show you guys how this all comes together, from blind, food plot, even move the pile. The pile's right over here now. It used to be down in the travel corridor for the deer. And that's a really bad thing, because there are certain mature bucks, and I would say it's half or more, that even in a location like this, if they see those piles, they don't like it. They have enough space around here. They don't have to be confined in an area like that. So we moved that pile from here. We actually moved it, I would say, about 30 yards, or by about 100 feet, up into this area over here. And you can see right here, we'll start, we had a big honeysuckle bush right here. And we want that pile on the other side. We want that to block us coming in. We created the tunnel that I just walked through with the switchgrass. It's kind of a wind, so you can't just look straight back here. And then we got the redneck blind installed. So this was not the normal platform that we use, the redneck platforms, but Jen's dad, Greg, has a really cool design for platforms, and this was a gift to us from him. And so kind of a sentimental thing. It means a lot to us because it's from Greg. And so that's something we'll always have out here. Really cool to have, have Greg have a little piece of that out here too. And so we finally got this installed. It wasn't just that we wanted to install a redneck blind. I always talk about that you look at the conditions you have and you match those conditions to whatever type of setup you need to hunt out of, whether it's a blind, tripod, stand, ladder stand, hang on, and in some cases, maybe even a tethered tree saddle. But bottom line is, we have all this brush on both sides and a thick hedge, and so this was a great spot to just insert the blind. And then you can see from clearing over here, Wes and I actually piled all this brush. And the brush is one thing, there'll be a little bit of a break here. I don't like necessarily giant logs. I think it looks bad. But you can see that there's a mat down here, and within this mat, we have silky willow shrubs back and forth on here. There's 12 of them. And the ones by our pole building right now, just at 3 years, 4 years of growth, are already as tall as a redneck just about. So they're going to be in that 12 foot by 12 foot range. This will be an entire wall of brush. We'll have to actually cut holes out to even see the food plot in here. We have it fenced off in the front so the deer can't get it. And then it's just a deer, it's a HD deer fence from Menards. It's a heavy duty one. And those do last. We found that they lasted, they'll last a few years until we take it down. We don't need to have this fence here a couple of years. And we haven't done it yet, but we will fence in some red osier dogwood like that as opposed to apple trees, because those shrubs can live out here in a little cluster like an apple tree. Fence it in, you take it down. Unlike an apple tree, they can't be eaten down to the ground and destroyed and killed. So really good alternative that I try to suggest and recommend for a lot of our northern clients, where bears are going to destroy apple trees, or you take the fences down and the deer destroy them, just about no matter what size. So it's really good to those red osier dogwoods. These silky dogwoods the deer don't eat. So this is part of it, getting the spot for the blind. And you can see the sumac and gray dogwood, briars, everything we have around here. And I'll show you where we cleared this out over here. There's actually a deer trail that we didn't want to take out, and that comes right through here. So we left that deer trail alone. That was something specific with the heavy equipment operator. We wanted to leave this deer trail, but at the same time, I didn't want the pile right on top of this deer trail. I want the deer to feel comfortable coming through here. We're blowing our scent that way. So really good for us to sneak into the blind. This right here, and it's funny, I was talking to Jen, and I said, you know what we got to do with that area where they took all the logs and pushed it back? And Jen, what did you say?
Simazine and switchgrass.
Simazine and switchgrass. We both had the same idea. So isn't that scary? She's starting to think alike. So we are going to hit this with simazine. We're actually going to spread switchgrass. We should probably do it tonight. We're now, the forecast was showing heavy rain for tomorrow. It's actually, it looks like it's on our doorstep, only about 2 hours away. We're getting a shot. So we're going to get switchgrass down here. There's plenty of sunlight that gets down into this. We're going to hit it with simazine to limit new growth. And this is not the type of area where we count on a big switchgrass bank. We just want there to be some cover growing this year. We would expect that to get up about 4 feet. I think there's gonna be a mix of briars, trees coming in, shrubs. It'll turn extremely wild so that by next year, it'll probably be 6, 8 feet tall and you won't even be able to see in here. So we'll do that. But you can see, pile was here, big pile, and now it is gone. So, and I don't want this to be part of the food plot because then that places the food plot behind the blind and right by where we're walking in. We don't need, the point is in a little hunting plot like this, we'll start walking out into this plot. We don't need this plot to be a ½ acre. In fact, I'd prefer that this plot is a 1/4 acre, 1/3 of an acre at the most, but it's not about the size, it's about matching the lay of the land to the food plot. If we go too far this way, we start getting into a ditch. There's a crossing in the ditch directly right there. I did not want this pile right here because the crossing's right there that goes over to a water hole on the other side. Can hunt with a little bit different wind. And then you can see right here, this is the start of that food plot coming in right here. And so it starts to tip in too far. This point goes out for a ways and you can see the old edge of pasture because there's a giant oak behind Jen right now. She's actually walking in front of the camera with a mock scrape. And that's where the big tree line is right here. Back here, this is what used to be farmland back in the day, turned into pasture, and now it's food plot. But this food plot's a perfect size at about a 1/4 acre. And so once this was cleared here, and then we inserted the redneck in between that brush opening, we're gonna get a lot of brush growing up right there. And then this right here, we started with rye. So we spread rye down here probably early April. We got it up to about 6, 7 inches tall. And then Jen came in here, broadcast buckwheat. We already have a certain percentage germinating. Jen, we probably 20% germinating, if that, 15, 20%.
Yeah.
Say around there. And she got a pretty good amount here. Dylan had some close-up shots of me here earlier where this buckwheat, we want it to be about 2 inches apart. So we started with the rye. That limited erosion with some of the big early spring rains. And then that actually helps to start break apart that soil, get that root system of fine organic matter established in the top layer, and then that buckwheat's coming in. So that buckwheat's now gonna germinate really well, especially with the rain tonight, rain tomorrow. We have really good rains this weekend. It's just a really good pattern over the next week of guaranteed rain. And so that's the food plot. We'll have the buckwheat here. And then when we get into the fall, we'll put this into our Fall Power 365 and Big Boost Brassica 365. It has that same perennial base where we had the various clovers, chicory, and alfalfa. We'll get that established on here. And it's really important with all of those. Alfalfa can take over clover. Clover can take over alfalfa. It depends on, you want to have the right ratios, but chicory is probably the worst of them all. Meaning you want chicory, but we really only want about 2/3 to 3/4 of a pound per acre at most. And that's what I found over the years that seemed to be about the right amount. That was enough to nurse the clover along, but don't fool yourself that chicory is more of an attractant than clover. It might be in some areas only because the deer didn't eat it early and it stuck around, the soil's poor, the soil's dry. Then that chicory might grow where clover won't. But what's really nice about clover, it offers nurse crop properties, and then it will be eaten eventually in October, November. So not a bad crop at all, but you don't want to overdo the chicory at all in there. So anyways, we have the right amount of mix in there. We have that cool season annual. That's been something I've been doing since the late 90s, is plant that cool season annual with clover, establish the clover for the following year, but then you still have the fall and winter draw with that cool season annual. So we'll terminate this buckwheat. We'll let it set for about 7 days, and then we'll just simply broadcast that crop right on here, and that'll be right around August 1st. So after this rain gets going, and we already have some germination, we already have some buckwheat actually starting, little leaves starting to show up here and there. And you can see this is a pass-through. So we have a little bit of a draw over here, which used to be erosion out of the farm fields when they farmed all the way back in here back in the day. That's only about 50 yards that way. And then at the end of the plot over there, it's the same thing. So those are 2 erosion spots that were formed from deep tillage back in the day, plowing continuously all the way to the edge. And so that's been set back. So at the top of those ditches, they erode into rocky, steep ravines all the way down. And so the deer cross here and they cross down low typically, and that's about it, which is like 150, 200 yards down. So these are the crossing points right here. And then you can see going up this way, we have a wall of brush. The wall of brush is not the only thing. On the other side of that, we have about 80 to 100 feet of switchgrass, depending on where you're at there, and then our access. So we're completely hidden where we come in from there. We can come into the back of the redneck and then hide right in here. And that's where the mock scrape comes in. Right over here, we have a camera on it so we can see everything that's going on out here. We've seen bucks out here so far, does and fawns. We've had bucks and does hit the mock scrape. Rednecks in the background when they do so. And it's a perfect 20-yard shot, 22-yard shot right here to the mock scrape. So everything is set up for this, from hiding the blind in, and that'll start to fill in and you know, come in pretty nice over the next year. And it might be a little open right now. It's really cool because we'll get the exact reaction from the deer out of that camera right there. So Jen, what do you think the deer's reaction is going to be when they come through right now?
Probably, whoa.
I don't know. It's what I noticed with these blinds is if they're completely silhouetted, meaning there's nothing on either side, then they really tend to spook them. But where you have brush alongside of it, especially right next to it, a little bit of brush in front of it, it's definitely going to stick out. But it'll be interesting to see the deer usages this year. But you can bet by next year it's going to be completely hidden in here and a really soft approach. And this food plot's going to come in great. And this will be a food plot that we never till, never disc, never plow. That's kind of the general theme around here of all our plots. This is our 6th year of planting, no tilling, no plowing, no disking. We're working on the soil, improving the soil. We're combating erosion. We're combating the loss of moisture in the soil. We're only working on that top few inches of topsoil. We're not bringing garbage soil in from 9 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches down and trying to incorporate that. We're only working on that top layer with multiple rotations. In fact, by fall, it'll be the 3rd rotation of crops on a 1-year plot, a 1-season plot. So we're getting 3 crops in here, which help put various nutrients back in the soil. Again, combat erosion, and it gives us a lot of goodness. So we're excited about this. This plot is just the perfect size. There's a lot of thought that goes into every one of our setups out here. Everything we do, we put a lot of thought into. And then when we're sitting in that blind hunting, we'll be there kind of like, man, I wonder if we should do this here, do this over here. But we're always thinking and trying to come up with the best way to do things. And I can't wait for it to come together. Jen, can you think of anything I've missed in here? Or have I kind of covered it all? We didn't have a tree to put we could have put a tree right in that a tree stand that we could have put a hang on right in that, or a ladder stand. And we all felt that we would have stuck out. So this is the perfect setup, and now it's just left to the growing. You know, let everything start growing and taking shape. We'll continually monitor it from that camera right there, see how the deer react to it. You can actually see a buckwheat leaf right there coming in. So we're getting several pieces of buckwheat and good growth coming in. Almost makes me feel a little bit guilty stepping on it, Jen. You have your Birkenstocks on, so they're a little bit smaller. I have my big lacrosse boots on, so I'm smashing down even more. But I hope you guys can kind of visualize how this will take shape, and you can definitely bet that we'll bring it to you. We call it the house plot because it's close to the house, but it feels really kind of intimate and remote over here because it's behind so much cover and brush. It's just an intimate little look into a view of a food plot where we have water hole right over here. We have some other food sources around the house and fields. And we have a big food plot about 250 yards that way, 300 yards right around there. We call the hermit plot. That's about 2.5 acres. So that supplies that movement, the water, kind of all goes together to control that line of movement. And it's getting windy. I like this storm coming, and we'll bring this to you throughout this season. Now we own Pure Wildlife Blends Seed Company, and we really want you to try us out. We have about 19 different offerings online. These all go back to my roots of 25 years ago and up to 30 years ago when I first started food plotting. But making these combinations, I sit at the table with our seed supplier, put all these blends together. We use pure seed with no filler, no garbage. And it's early May right now, and it's a great time to start looking at your seed. We do not run out of seed. Doesn't matter if it's switchgrass, clover, perennial blends, our fall blends, whatever it is, we don't run out. We don't want you to come at one point and then we're not here, come back in another, keep looking. We always have it on supply. Wes, our food plot seed manager, is right back there. He's shipping out daily, and really want you to check us out. Of course, we have the web classes. We go to clients every year, almost 300 a year across the country. Books. There's lots of stuff you can check out on our site, lots of free material. But I really urge you to check out purewildlifeblends.com.